This is a very dangerous moment.
Stoking fears of an invasion.
More than 2,000 troops, according to American intelligence, sent within the 24 hours.
American citizens should leave now.
Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine early 2022, the conflict has been waged on multiple fronts.
The Russian army had amassed around 200,000 soldiers, along with their tanks, artillery, equipment, and field hospitals across their border, and many others inside of Belarus along their border with Ukraine. For comparison, this is nearly the same size as the entire Ukrainian military, at about the same number of troops sent by the United States when invading Iraq in 2003.
Not only on the battlefields of Donbass and Kyiv, but in the shadows, through covert operations, sabotage, and targeted assassinations. The SBU has risen to notoriety for its precision strikes deep inside of Russian territory, the most famous being the recent attack that destroyed 47 Russian military aircraft in a single daring operation, becoming what was dubbed as Russia's Pearl Harbor. But beyond these headline-grabbing acts lies a relentless, quieter war, a surgical campaign to dismantle the Russian military and political elite driving the invasion. This is a war where generals, weapon designers, and war criminals themselves are being hunted down. It's a shadow war, one that sends a message loud and clear. No one involved in this brutal conflict is beyond the reach of justice. For Russia, these assassinations represent a Pearl Harbor moment, a shock to their sense of invulnerability, and a crack in their war machine that reveals vulnerability in the heart of the Kremlin. On August 20th, 2022, a car bomb exploded on a busy highway near Moscow. Inside the vehicle was Darya Dugina, a rising star in Russia's nationalist intellectual circles and the daughter of Alexander Dugin, one of President Vladimir Putin's closest ideological allies. Darya wasn't just a commentator, she was a fierce advocate for Russia's traditional values and a vocal supporter of the invasion of Ukraine. Her writings blended philosophy, politics, and nationalism, making her a powerful voice among Kremlin hardliners. That day, as she drove through the Moscow suburbs, an explosive device planted beneath her car detonated, obliterating the vehicle and killing her instantly. The assassination sent shockwaves across Russia. For many Russians, Darya was more than a person. She symbolized a patriotic cause, a bright future for their nation. Her death wasn't just a loss, it was a deep wound in the psyche of a country already at war. The Kremlin quickly branded the act a terrorist attack, accusing Ukrainian operatives of crossing into Russian soil to carry out the killing. But the brutality of the assassination, a bomb detonated under a civilian's car in the heart of the capital, shattered the illusion that the Kremlin's inner circle was untouchable. Her funeral became a highly publicized event, with politicians and nationalists rallying around her memory, portraying her as a martyr for the Russian cause. Yet, behind the mourning was a stark truth. Darya Dugina's assassination was just the beginning in a wave of killings targeting those who spearheaded Russia's war effort, a shadow war where every key figure became a target. Darya's death was a tragedy not only for her family and supporters, but for a nation forced to confront the brutal realities of war, where ideology and violence intertwine, where even those who believe themselves untouchable can be struck down in an instant. Stanislav was no ordinary naval officer. As a commander in Russia's Black Sea Fleet, he helmed one of the submarines that became an instrument of death beneath the waves. Under his command, the submarine was responsible for sinking Ukrainian vessels, including civilian and military ships, resulting in the deaths of at least 28 Ukrainian sailors. These weren't just statistics. These were fathers, brothers, sons, men lost beneath the cold waters because of the cold decisions made by Rzhitsky and his crew. His role in the maritime campaign was a brutal one, disrupting Ukrainian supply lines, terrorizing coastline communities, and inflicting severe casualties on Ukrainians' navy. But in July 2020, the hunt became the hunted. On a morning jog in Krasnodar, Rzhitsky's routine was shattered. As he ran along a quiet street, gunmen waited in the shadows. Without warning, a volley of bullets pierced the calm, a targeted assassination designed to send a chilling message. The killing of Rzhitsky was a direct retaliation for the lives he helped destroy. His death underscored the reality that those orchestrating violence from behind military hardware could not hide from its consequences. Vladlen was a key figure in Russia's information war. A pro-Kremlin military blogger, he wielded words like weapons, broadcasting propaganda that glorified violence against Ukraine and bolstered support for Moscow's invasion. Tatarsky's voice echoed across social media and state-controlled channels, amplifying nationalist fervor and legitimizing brutal military actions. But his influence came with a dark shadow. But he was not just a commentator, but a mouthpiece for war crimes and aggression. In April 2023, Tatarsky attended a public event in a cafe in St. Petersburg, surrounded by supporters and journalists. But there, a woman approached him with a gift, a seemingly innocent package. But the gift was a deadly ruse. Hidden inside was a bomb designed to detonate in close proximity. When it exploded, the cafe was engulfed in chaos. Tatarsky was killed instantly. Dozens of bystanders were injured, some gravely. The assassination was theatrical, brutal, and precise. A stark symbol of the Shadow War's reach. A bomb disguised as a present sent a ruthless message. Propaganda that fuels war and violence carries a deadly price. Lieutenant General Yaroslav Moskalik was more than just a high-ranking officer. He was at the very heart of Russia's war machine. As deputy chief of the operations directorate, Moskalik's role was critical. He didn't just plan battles, he briefed Vladimir Putin directly on the process and strategy of the invasion. Moskalik was a strategist, a man whose decisions rippled through the ranks, impacting thousands of soldiers on the front lines. Under his guidance, offensives were launched that resulted in countless casualties among Ukrainian forces and civilians. But on an April day in 2025, his own fate was sealed. Near Moscow, Moskalik's vehicle was destroyed by a bomb so powerful that nothing recognizable remained. His assassinations sent shockwaves through Russia's military elite. The loss of such a pivotal figure was a blow to Moscow's command and control, a vivid illustration of the vulnerability of even those at the highest of echelons. Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov's name is synonymous with one of the darkest aspects of modern warfare, weapons of mass. As the head of Russia's chemical, biological, and nuclear defense troops, Kirillov oversaw forces accused of deploying chemical weapons against Ukrainian civilians. Evidence collected by Ukraine and international observers linked Kirillov's command to multiple attacks that caused suffering and death far beyond the battlefield. In 2024, an electric scooter rigged with explosives was parked near Kirillov's residence, a silent weapon in a deadly game. When Kirillov approached, the bomb detonated instantly, killing him on the spot. This was no random act. It was a calculated strike against a man whose axe had poisoned the lives of thousands. His death was both a physical loss and a symbolic blow against the use of chemical warfare, a brutal reminder that those responsible for war crimes cannot evade justice. Mikhail worked behind the scenes, far from the battlefield's front lines. As deputy chief designer at the Mars Design Bureau, he helped develop the very weapons that decimated Ukrainian cities. Cruise missiles, responsible for countless civilian casualties. By facilitating the weapons for indiscriminate bombing campaigns, he contributed to destroy homes, schools, hospitals, and lives. Each missile launched under his watch meant more families shattered, more children orphaned. In December 2024, Shay's life was cut short by a gunman near Moscow. The assassination sent a clear message. Those who design tools of destruction bear responsibility and face consequences. Sergey Evsyukov was no ordinary prison warden. He presided over Olenivka, a prison infamous for one of the darkest war crimes in the conflict. In July 2022, where over 50 Ukrainian prisoners of war were killed under suspicious and brutal circumstances. The exact details remain contested, but evidence points to Evsyukov's direct responsibility or at least gross negligence. The massacre shocked international observers and fueled calls for accountability. Evsyukov was a symbol of the systemic cruelty inflicted upon captured Ukrainian soldiers. In December of 2024, a car bomb detonated in Danes killed Evsyukov and severely injured his wife. The assassination was more than just revenge. It was a message that those who orchestrate atrocities will be held to account. even far from the battlefield. Valery Trankovsky held a key position as chief of staff for the Black Sea Fleet's missile boat. His command was directly linked to numerous missile strikes on Ukrainian civilian infrastructure, power plants, residential buildings, and schools. These attacks caused the deaths of hundreds of innocent Ukrainians, sowing terror and destruction across cities. In November 2024, Kar was targeted in a precise bombing attack in Sevastopol. The explosion was a devastating blow to the Russia's Navy offensive capabilities in Crimea, killing Trankovsky instantly. This assassination crippled a key figure responsible for sustaining the campaign of terror against Ukrainian civilians. For years, Ukraine's military has faced overwhelming odds against Russia's conventional force, but beyond the headlines and frontline battles lies a relentless shadow war. Ukraine's security service, the SBU, has become notorious for striking deep within Russian territory with surgical precision. The destruction of 47 Russian aircraft in a single devastating raid showed their growing capabilities. Yet the assassinations of Dugina, Tatarsky, and others reveals an even more covert and personal campaign. This is a war fought not just with bombs and bullets, but with intelligence, infiltration, and careful targeting. Each assassination disrupts Moscow's war efforts, spreads fear among its elites, and signals that no one, not even Putin's closest allies or top generals, are safe. The message from Kiev is clear. Justice will catch up with those who wage war and commit atrocities. And in this deadly game of chess, the shadows are Ukraine's greatest weapon.